All right, it is loading up now. All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Titan Talk on Kappa League TV. We have another exciting episode today, interviewing a career Titan in public relations who we'll meet in a quick second. We really do appreciate all of our live guests tuning in, as well as our Kappa Leaguers, our families, and then our audience watching this session recorded or watching it live with us today. We really hope that you enjoy the content. So I am joined here by our second Titan that we'll be interviewing this year, Mr. Tony Wyllie. I know Tony, Kappa knows Tony, NFL knows Tony, the sports world knows Tony. But Tony, why don't you just give a quick minute to introduce yourself? Remember that a lot of people watching this Titan Talk interview are going to be kids, families. Maybe they don't keep up with football. Maybe they don't keep up with what you do. Maybe they've not Googled you or Wikipedia'd you. Just give them a little background in who you are and what you're up to these days.
Sure. First of all, Brother Cole, thanks for having me on here. My name is Tony Wyllie. I'm currently the president and managing director for Special Olympics North America, meaning I oversee all the programs from the United States, Canada, and the Caribbean. I've been here 2 years. In my previous life, I worked 30 years as the executive in public relations for various NFL teams. Let's see, starting with the Houston Oilers, and then the San Diego Chargers and the Dallas Cowboys, the Los Angeles Rams. I moved from LA to St. Louis. And then I went to Tennessee to be with the Titans. And then I went back to home to Houston to be with the Texans. And then the last stop was with the Washington football team. So been 30 years and it's been a long journey, but I never worked a day in my life because I truly love what I do.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about. That's so good to hear. And like I said, a lot of people really don't understand how big that you are. I think that when you and I first met back, it must have been 10 years ago when we met, I didn't realize how big that you were. It really means so much that you would donate some of your time, President Wyllie, to come through, give some love to our platform and really share some of your gems that you have with our Kappa League audience. We really do appreciate you.
Let's go. Let's dive right in.
All right. So first things first, we really just wanted to extend our congratulations. So we understand that you had a recent opportunity presenting Isaac Bruce to be in the Hall of Fame. So just to recap for kids watching at home who don't know who Isaac Bruce is, just give a little bit about who he is. Tell us about your time in Canton and tell us about what it was like. I'm guessing this was your first time participating in the Pro Football Hall of Fame enshrinement ceremony from this perspective. I know you've been before, but from this perspective, participate. Just tell us about what that was like.
Yeah, well, first of all, I went to school at Texas Southern University, and one of the players on the football team was the first Hall of Famer that I worked with. His name was Michael Strahan. So I worked with Michael when we were in college, and I knew him before he was drafted by the Giants. So in college, by working in sports information, the athletic department worked with him. Since then, Isaac is 20th Hall of Famer that I worked with. I mentioned the teams that I worked with. He's 20th, and Adrian Peterson and maybe Andre Johnson will be a couple others. But in my career, I worked with 20 Hall of Famers. But Isaac is the only one. Now, previous ones, I helped them with their speeches. I helped them write their speeches. But Isaac was the one that actually wanted me to present him, which was along with his brother, which was the biggest honor. Because just so you understand, most of the time, the players will pick their coaches or teammates or family members. But I'm only the second PR executive ever in NFL history to be a presenter. So that's something I didn't take lightly. And the fact that we had 2 classes going on. So Isaac is probably and being a Hall of Famer is one of the best receivers that ever played. And he and I worked together with the Rams when I was in LA and in St. Louis. And when he was finally selected to go into the Hall of Fame, he asked me to be his presenter, and I was speechless. So he doesn't know, but I ended up hiring a photographer to take pictures that whole weekend. And he's putting together a coffee table book that captures everything for the weekend. And I want to fly down to Florida and hand it to Isaac as a gift. So he's going to be, hopefully that'll blow him away.
So Tony, you setting waves in the NFL just based on your career, and also setting waves in terms of relationships with the players who come through the league. Do you think that in the future, Hall of Famers or anybody that gets inducted into a Ring of Honor or whatever, that they're going to look beyond their coaches or look beyond fellow players, that they're going to reach more and more into the front office? I know that you're only the second one, but I think that what you're doing could potentially start waves. Do you see more of that going forward?
It
Hall
depends
of
on the
Famers.
relationship. Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean, depends on the relationship that you have with the player. I mean, that says a lot for Isaac to recognize someone that's really helped him in his career. And I mean, it was just a blessing. And I think it's about trust and relationships, and the respect that people will have for the position. And as we go forward, who knows who else would get selected. But I just know I was just really blown away.
Awesome, awesome. So let me ask you this. This is a light question, then we'll get into the next big question. So the light question is, considering that last year was two Hall of Fames kind of rolled up into one, at this stage in your career, do you still get starstruck? Or were you starstruck at the last Hall of Fame
You
enshrinement
know
ceremony?
what? Honestly, no. I mean, when we had all of the we had all everyone together before, we had before the gold jackets, and it was more or less like a homecoming. I mean, I got to see guys like the Emmett Smiths and the Jimmy Johnsons, and the Warren Moons. I didn't get starstruck because the only time really got starstruck, to be honest, is when I worked the Pro Bowl. I worked the Pro Bowl in '99, and I'm sitting around in a room, Brother Cole, and I remember looking at this room saying, you know what? These are the best players right now. This team could probably go out and just beat anybody. I mean, Barry Sanders and Emmitt Smith. I mean, they're all over there, and I'm just sitting back like I just at that point I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool because everybody could probably beat everyone. And then I remember Coach Green was the coach, Denny Green from the Vikings, and he turned to me at the last minute and said, "What do you have to say to the team?" And I said, "Guys, it's the Pro Bowl. If I come to you, that means I really need you to do something. Otherwise, enjoy the good weather, enjoy the beach." And I said, "Everyone in the SWAC, I want to take a team photo." So we have this a picture of me and Strahan and Aeneas Williams and Jerry Rice and Benny Thomas and Jimmy. There's like six of us that are from the SWAC conference, and
Right?
that's something that we took a picture. So that was pretty cool. The only person I'll ever get
Mhm.
starstruck. I worked all these years in professional sports. The only person that would get me is Reggie Jackson because I grew up a big Yankee fan and Reggie Jackson's my guy. When I met him, I turned into a 10-year-old kid. I'd be professional.
Awesome, awesome. So this what was that atmosphere like? So you said that it was like a homecoming, and Danny Green got everyone to get, well, excuse me, that was a different time. I'll ask about that later. But just tell
Mhm.
us about the atmosphere of what that Hall of Fame enshrinement ceremony was back. It was after a pandemic year. It was two and one. I'm sure
Yeah,
people were really happy to see each other, just that many like legends in the room. Just describe that feel of just
it
being
was it was it
there. Mhm.
was very a big celebration. It was a huge celebration. People were just happy to see people. I remember before the parade, Isaac Bruce and I sitting with Tony Dungy, and we're talking about the Steelers and when he played and their championship game when the Rams and played the Bucks. I mean, everyone was just together. I mean, Winston Hill, who was a Texas Southern guy, his daughter, gravitated to me because I was a Texas Southern guy. So I mean, it was just a lot of hugs, a lot of tears, a lot of people just happy, a lot of handshaking and hugging. People really were happy to see each other.
Awesome, awesome. That actually leads perfectly into my next question I wanted to ask. So tell me about the pride that you have being from Texas Southern, being from the SWAC, and then knowing that you had mentioned in the Pro Bowl in the 90s that Danny Green, coach of the Vikings at that time, had got you all together from the picture. So tell me about what it is that, what kind of pride that you have going to Texas Southern, which for those that don't know is a HBCU, and then participating in the SWAC, which to my knowledge is a HBCU conference, right?
Absolutely,
Okay, okay.
absolutely. No, it was there's a lot of pride. You meet me the first 5 minutes, you don't know, where I'm from, and I graduated from Texas Southern because I'm very proud of my school. I'm very proud of the contributions that HBCUs have made, period. But I'm very proud of the fact that I'm proud of Michael, see him every morning on Good Morning America. I'm proud of Jerry Rice and Jackie Slater's, all the guys. I mean, in fact, Isaac Bruce, Isaac Bruce said when we first met, I made him jealous because he didn't attend HBCU. He went to Memphis. But that's the amount of pride I am. To know me, I'm proud of Black colleges, and I'm just proud of because of the support that it provided me when I was in school.
That's awesome. That's awesome. This conversation is really flowing because that's actually what I wanted to talk about next. So, being from Norfolk State University, I'm a proud alumnus myself. You being from Texas Southern. So, just tell me a little bit about your decision. What made you choose a HBCU? I want to see if our answers might be similar. Why did you choose TSU as a kid? And what does being an alumnus of that university mean to you? And why should this is a second part of that question? First part is what it means to you going to HBCU, and second part is why should students watching this considering an HBCU as they're making their plans for college?
Originally, I went to SFA. I originally went to SFA, and I followed one of my classmates to transfer to Texas Southern. So I didn't start off at Texas Southern, but when I got there, it was a sense of a family.
Mhm.
And just so you know, when I was seeking to get into professional sports, no one in school was haters. No one was like, "Oh, you can't do that." Everyone was encouraging, even my classmates, the professors. So when I was working in sports information, I ended up getting an internship opportunity to interview with the San Diego Chargers, and I couldn't afford a plane ticket. And the dean of the communications school called me in his office. And I thought I was in trouble, but he reached in his drawer and pulled out a Delta Airlines ticket and said, "You work too hard to let something like this stop you." So then I went to the placement office at the placement office in school, and they ended up Mr. Jones, he ended up taking me to the Galleria Mall and bought a suit out of his own money
Wow.
and told me to meet him the next 3 days so I can prep for my interview. So that's Black colleges. They go above and beyond just looking in the classroom. I mean, they really took a liking. I mean, really took a genuine interest into me to the point where when I always say I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for my school, that's the truth because it went beyond just what you learned in the classroom. I mean, they taught you about life. They taught you. I remember during the Rodney King riots where we were just talking about how what we had to do once we got out of school and how we had to be twice as good and work 3 times as hard. And they just really just taught us about life. I mean, it made me become a man.
No, Tony, I feel, Mr. Wild, I feel the exact same way being a alumnus of Norfolk State, where a lot of universities, regardless of their demographic, a lot of universities do just treat a lot of their enrolled students just as numbers on the screen, just as statistics. But one of the really cool things about going to Norfolk State, it sounds like you share this experience from your time in Texas Southern, is that it really is a family vibe. Back when I was going to Norfolk State, this was at the time that Trayvon Martin was getting hot. And then the next year it was like Mike Brown. And then the year and after that, it was Eric Gardner. And there was so many things that are happening in the community and the mainstream media that were affecting the Black community. And just being there in a situation where, yeah, we had the books, yeah, we had the activities, but there were still mental things that you had to worry about, between what was happening in the political conversation, what was happening in the social conversation, and just having teachers and having a support system there to really just guide you through that and to not only guide you through the noise of what was happening upstairs on TV and broader society, but how to conduct yourself as a man, how to conduct yourself in society, just still being professional, not just carrying around a chip on your shoulder, not just being angry all the time, just really maturely giving you a way to deal with all of that in addition to what you learned from the books. I think that's really special that your experience at Texas Southern. And we really do encourage all of our Kappa Leaguers and any students out there that, hey, HBCUs, please give it a consideration because they will treat you right if you are considering university. All right. So that was really good. So while you were at Texas Southern, I did a little bit of googling on your bio on Wikipedia. So I'm just going off of information that's publicly available. So feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, good sir, Mr. Wyllie. But while you were at school, so I read up that you had an opportunity to intern for the Houston Oilers, and you did PR for them initially. So you've spent 30 years in PR before you got to where you are in Special Olympics. So, what was it about your experience, your time with the Houston Oilers organization that made you go, hey, this is it? I love doing this job right here. And specifically, I love being in the NFL world. What was it that attracted you back then?
Well, it's funny you mention that because I set 3 goals. I set 3 goals. Number one was going to be to work in the front office of a
Mm,
professional sports team. Even though I worked in football, baseball is my favorite sport, and I actually had an opportunity to work with the Astros for 2 seasons. But I always say this: internships do two things. They tell you what you want to do, and they tell you what you don't want to do. So my number one choice was to work in baseball.
mm,
And after working 2 seasons with the Astros, I mean, it was a long season. You have all those games. I mean, it was pretty cool. But I was like, man, that's a lot. And then I started looking at football, and football only has one game a week. You have 16 games as opposed
right.
to 162 for baseball. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna gravitate toward football because I was able to work with both. And that's the great thing about being in a city like Houston. We had the Rockets, we had the Astros. You know, I worked for one of the TV stations. I had my own TV show. Plus, I worked for the newspapers. So I had three goals. Was the first one's going to be to work for a front office positions, professional sports. Number two is going to be a newspaper reporter, and number three was going to be a television reporter. And I did all three when I was in school. So I had opportunities to do all three. So I was able to pick Dallas to go out of school with the Cowboys. And one thing people always say is that when you what people don't know is when you win a Super Bowl, yeah, everyone gets a ring. So this
Wow,
is this is
I
the
was not
ring.
expecting you was gonna flash the bling
This
on
the,
us.
this
We are
is the ring
blessed.
from this is the ring from the
Hold it up in the
Cowboys.
camera a little bit more. You
Sure,
hold it up.
sure. So this is the ring from the Cowboys.
Oh
That's the
my
ring
God.
from the Cowboys.
You guys see that? It's icy right there.
And then and then and then when I was 1 yard short, I ended up getting one from the Titans. That's one from the Titans
Wow.
when we lost to the Rams. So the great thing is, I mean, it was pretty cool to go to. I went to 2 Super Bowls. I got a chance to go to at least, oh gosh, 15 of them, but two of them with my teams, the '93 Cowboys and the '99 Titans. So I mean, I've got a chance to work, visit. I mean, witness 500 games. I think I've been to Hawaii. I've been to London. I mean, I never worked a day in my life, so I've had a great time. It was a great run, and so kids, you got to choose something you want to do for the rest of your life. Pick something that you're passionate about. Make your passion your paycheck.
So let me make sure I heard you correctly. So you had that plan going into college that you wanted to be associated with the sports world, even though you didn't know if it was going to be football versus baseball or PR, but you knew definitively that you wanted to crack into that space. I just want to confirm.
I started as biology, but then I changed my major. Here's what happened. Let me tell you what happened. Let me tell you what
Mhm.
happened. I read an article in the news in the magazine. It was called Black Collegian Magazine, and it was talking about sports management, and it said you can turn your love for sports and make it a career. And brother Cole, when I read that article, that was it. That was the epiphany. That was the aha moment. Then that's when I
Mm.
went to the placement office and said, start sending me information on sports management. And that's when I changed my major to journalism. And the wild thing is when I you don't be afraid to ask questions because the first assignment in my journalism class was you had to pick someone you wanted to be like and write a story. Well, I picked the general manager, the only black general manager of all sports. It was right there for the Houston Astros. His name was Bob Watson.
Wow.
And I called him. And guess what? He called me back. He called me back and spent 3 hours on the phone with me while he was in spring training. And the last thing he said to me was, if you want to do this, you can do it.
While you
So
were a student, he
while I was
took
a
time out
student.
of
So
his
my
day to do that for
my
you.
advice to everyone is to pick someone you want to be like and get an informational interview. Because my point is, how do you know where to go unless you talk to someone that's already traveled that road? So that's the keys right now. That's the answers to the test. Pick someone you want to be like, talk to them, network, because what you're doing is networking, and networking is one letter away from not working. Who you know gets you through the door, and what you know keeps you there. That's what
That's super powerful. We one of the phases of Kappa League, phase 4, social. Brother Wyllie, you're familiar with it, but as a reminder to our Kappa Leaguers, part of that phase, fulfilling that phase is breaking your shell. We understand that you might being a little bit of an awkward or growing up phase while you're in middle or high school. Some guys carry it into college. I know that I carried it into college, but the earlier that you break your shell, not just with your peers, but being able to reach out to those people that have, like you said, been there, done that, are in the places that you want to go to, and then scheduling those informational interviews is going to set you up for success later in life, even if they can't do anything for you right then and there. I would love to say that every situation is like Tony Wylie's right here, but it's not. Even if they can't do something for you right now, just getting that information, just getting that contact, and then maybe getting a next step on what to do next can be just as valuable, if not more. It's guiding you to what you really want to do. So that's really cool.
Well, I would say this
Mhm.
for people, for young men in the Capital League or anyone that's watching this right now. Well, how would you react if someone from your middle school called you? If you were ninth or 10th grade or even 11th grade right now, what if someone in the middle school called you as a sixth grader and said, you know what, I'm going to be at your high school in a couple more years. I want to know what I can do right now to prepare myself to excel. Would you
Mm.
turn them away or would you help them? 10 times out of 10, you're probably going to help them. Use the same tactic. Use the same tactic, but then follow up. Don't just get the information,
Right.
follow up. Say, hey, I'm here. Because what happens is when there's positions to be open, when there's time, you need to be on their tips of their tongues.
Yep.
And that's how you do it. Make
Yep. They
sure
got to know your name. They got to know your face. They got to know your whole
they gotta
energy
know
and
the
so much
whole thing. They
dialogue.
gotta
That's
know
right.
the whole thing.
Awesome. Hey, really quick question. This one's completely off the rails, but I was really curious. Kids today, they don't know about the Astrodome. At the time that it was active, the Astrodome, if I'm not mistaken, was one of the more state of the art facilities before this
Right.
era of reconstruction. So just
Right.
really quick, like I said, this is off the rails. Just tell me, because I'm curious about myself. What was the experience? What was the vibe like at the Astrodome? And why was it so special?
Well, first of all, it's air conditioned. I mean, you're inside. You're inside, and I remember, they have. I'm looking at right now in my basement. I have two seats from the Astrodome actually in my basement here. So they're plush. They're plush seats. It was nice, air conditioned, and everyone you walked in and you just really just looking, kind of like the movie The Bad News Bears, when they're all just looking around because it was it was a one of a kind. It was one of a kind. It was the only dome stadium. So it was like really a big novelty because you don't get to see that too often. And it was very comfortable. It was very noisy. And then the Astros had those tequila sunrise uniforms, which was very unique.
Uh,
So it was a really good experience.
they really didn't know how good that they had it back then. However, now that we're in the era of, I guess, reconstruction, the Raiders just built a new stadium, the Chargers and the Rams have a new stadium, the Vikings, the Falcons, all these beautiful new stadiums. You being a PR executive, you were blessed to have been stationed at the Astrodome, but I'm pretty sure you were traveling to certain domestic and
Oh,
international stadiums that didn't have all the amenities that the Astrodome had. Oh man. So I just wanted to go off the rails. That was just an ad hoc question that I had on the back of my mind, but thank you so much for sharing that. Let me go back. So I guess we've talked a little bit about your journey throughout the NFL. I just wanted to continue on that. So you spent 30 years in the league doing public relations and working with multiple teams. I saw that you flashed your ring earlier. You built relationships with the community and then built up the image of each franchise. So we work with kids all the time here in Capital League in our day-to-day activities and our formal activities, when we're working with them one-on-one and our kickbacks or when we're just chilling out. We always talk about, sports at some point in time, which teams are undefeated, which teams are winning the Super Bowl this year, when's Tom Brady retiring, etc. We have a lot of kids that watch football closely as a fan and they play it, or maybe they want to go into the league themselves. Here in Dulles-Leesburg, I think out of our 20 Capital Leaguers, at least 15 of them play some kind of sports. I think 10 of them are football players. So that's a lot to say. A lot of guys, they think about playing football. They think about being in the football sphere, maybe from a coach's perspective, but maybe not so much on the front office
Right.
perspective. And I really don't think that they understand or appreciate the business side of it. And that there's a lot going on in an organization that supports any one club. getting onto the field at any one given time. So just help us understand, what you did in your day-to-day working in public relations for the NFL. And then just tell us about the business aspect of football that people just don't talk about enough.
I had the unique ability to really touch everyone in the organization because I had to deal with the players, I had to deal with the coaches, I had to deal with the staff, I had to deal with the support staff, I had to deal with the media. And so I was kind of like the middle of Spider-Man. The only thing day to day was that it was long. It was long. There's no check the checklist type thing, because by 9 o'clock my checklist could be thrown out of whack based on someone getting hurt or someone. I mean, unfortunately, like the Raiders, the guy had an accident, something like that happened. So my job was working with the media. So there's nowadays the way the media works, it was 24-hour news. So I was always on. I was basically always on call. I mean, even during the off season, something would happen. But I wouldn't trade it for the world because it was very exciting. And but people have to understand. You're right. You can be an athlete, but you can also work in the front office. It's more stability working in the front office. I worked 30 years, and I never tackled anyone. I never caught a pass. And I didn't my Super Bowl rings. I mean, there's a lot of positions that in the front office that you can work in and really make a lasting career. And that's with a lot of sports. That's with a lot of different leagues. But I also would like to challenge some of our Kappa leaguers to be entrepreneurs and be producers, because if you think Lamar Jackson is rich, well, what about the guy that's paying him? He's wealthy.
His agent?
The difference between being rich and wealthy. So what I'm saying is I want some of these young men to think about being owners. I mean, Puff Daddy said, I don't write rhymes, I write checks.
Right.
Start thinking about nowadays, start thinking about businesses, start thinking about, because you can create jobs, but also you can own a team and be the one that writes the checks.
Interesting. This is a follow-up question to that. This is more opinion based. So why don't you think kids think about the business side of sports? And I guess a second part of that question is, like NFL, NBA, they have, scouting systems and recruitment pipelines going all the way down into middle school. But how come there's no pipeline like that for the business side of the league, or really sports in general?
Brother Cole, you don't see what you can't. You can't be what you don't see. So I think a lot of people, you don't know about it, but it's funny. EA Sports and a couple of groups, they approached me because they're going to create actually a video game to help train young Black and brown young men to be front office executives. They actually have a video game coming out to think like a general manager, think like a team president, and it's going to be pretty cool. And they wanted me to be like a consultant for it, so it can be kind of realistic. But they're gonna have some opportunities to really exercise their talents, not only on the field but off the field.
Interesting. So this is a video game coming out to maybe not so much being a GM, but just being an executive in a sports office.
Even a GM, yes, a GM as well. Yep. GM, presidents, head coaches, all of that. Absolutely.
Okay. And then I'm assuming that each decision that I've not played the game, I've not seen the game, I'm just now hearing it, but I'm assuming that each decision influences the set of decisions or influences like whatever happens next. And then, right, you can have a good season or a win season. You're not actually playing like you do on Madden, but those decisions that you do actually. Okay.
Yeah. They just now.
There's a money aspect too that you got to hit.
Absolutely. They're just now developing the game, which I think will definitely open up some eyes to some young people.
Okay. We'll have to keep posting on that. That sounds really cool.
Absolutely.
All right. So let me ask you this. So this is gonna be a tough question, but I had to ask it just to have you here. You're a very unique man. I think it would be an injustice if we didn't ask this. So we're both Black. We work with African American youth. We know all too well about the lack of representation in the executive office in sports. It's gotten marginally better in the last few years. Some GMs, some coaches here and there. I'm not sure how many hires in the last few years on your level where you were back when you were in the NFL. So for those here in this interview, maybe thinking about getting into the business side or that have been inspired by something that you said today, what tips do you have for them to be successful? And then how should they navigate as a minority throughout the business?
Okay. First of all, I'm here to tell you the same way that Bob Watson told me, if you want to do it, you can do it. I'm definitely telling you, you can do it. If you want to do this and it's here and it's right here, you got the passion, you got the motivation, you don't take no for an answer, you can do it. And the way you do it is start networking. People like me need to know that you're out there. You know, when I was a student, this was before the internet. I sent out 400 resumes. I got a typewriter. Yeah, you can probably Google what a typewriter is, but I had a typewriter and I addressed I got a Sports Illustrated almanac that had all the addresses of all the different teams. I mean, I'm talking about even if you're a minor league team, Canadian team, whatever, if you're a professional sports team, you got a resume for me. And my thinking at the time was, the more darts you throw at a target, the better your odds of hitting it. And
I like that.
I wanted to look myself in the mirror and know that I did everything that I could to get to achieve this. So my advice to you guys is just go for it. Do it. Be professional. You know, when I was in college, I wore coat and ties every day because that's the job I wanted. I wanted to be an executive. So my friends would tease me because I had a briefcase. I had an NFL briefcase, but I wore coat and ties because I dressed for the part that I wanted. So start thinking like that. Heck, you can even do that in high school. You want to be an executive, start wearing a coat and tie in high school if you want to. Start getting there because people will notice. And you got to follow up with your mentors, you know, and then this is something that I'm really proud of. There's about 300 people that look like you and me that I helped get into the league. And that was a promise that I kept to the assistant director of the San Diego Chargers when I was there. He helped me and he helped open doors for me. And I asked him, how can I pay you back? And he said, you pay me back by working twice as hard, being 3 times as good, and then reaching back and helping someone the same way I help you, and they have to do the same. So a lot of people, or my proteges, have all done the same. So we've helped pay it forward, and I ask that everyone that's listening and watching, they do the same, because someone like us is going to open the door, and then they have to do the same and reach back and help others.
Nah, that's Mr. Wyllie, Brother Wyllie, that's huge. 2 really important things that you said. Number 1 was the volume approach. I got some Jordan/Kobe vibes. You said something about you have to make sure that you're throwing enough darts at the board because one of them is guaranteed to hit. And then one of them might even be a bullseye, but you're not going to hit the board unless you keep throwing enough darts. So you miss every shot that you don't take. It's the same thing. One of the phases that we also have in Capital League is phase 3 competition, where young men, you're going to be competing at all times with people that are in your group that you're graduating college with, or you're in your circle in whatever industry that you want to get into. But also you're in competition with people that don't look like myself and Tony Wyllie. So you definitely got to make sure that you keep shooting, that you don't get discouraged. There might not be some opportunities that don't work out. That's fine. But, you know, you keep working, you keep presenting yourself well, you keep taking that shot, and eventually it's going to go in, and eventually you're just going to establish a rhythm and it's going to feel good. The second really important thing that our guest said today is make sure that you're doing something to stand out from the crowd. It's true that maybe today you might get clowned in high school, or maybe some of your earlier years at college if you come in with a suit and tie, but coming from some perspective of somebody who's older and definitely Tony Wyllie's age, you will get noticed. You will get not only noticed, but probably picked out from the crowd, especially at an HBCU where I'm not going to talk about fashion at HBCUs. You know, we're going to leave that conversation alone. But what I will say is when you do dress up in a suit and tie, you will get noticed. You will get picked out. You'll distinguish yourself. We just did a session on self-awareness and the importance of how you dress and carry yourself. And that's a lesson that we want to make sure that we really repeat home. Excellent response to that question. That's how you win in the NFL world. That's how you win at life. So going to our next question. So we've talked about, tell us about your favorite team to work for and why throughout the league.
I'll just say that whichever one was paying me. I mean,
the money man, mercenary.
I grew up an Oilers fan, so it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool working for the Oilers, but also working in Tennessee for them. I mean, that was pretty cool because that was as a team I grew up watching it. But I also remember I was originally, I'm originally from Brooklyn, so I was a Jets fan, and I remember I had to go to the Jets office to pick up some credentials. I'm sitting in the PR guy's office looking around saying, wow, well, the 8-year-old Tony Wyllie, the 8-year-old Tony Wyllie and me was going crazy because this was my team, and here I am at the facility with the Jets. I thought that was pretty cool. But I picked up something everywhere I've been. You know, Dallas we won, and then LA was right living right by the beach was pretty cool. You know, St. Louis, and I met my wife in St. Louis, and then Tennessee we went to the Super Bowl, even though we lost to the Rams, and then going back home to Houston. So I mean, I picked up something along the way for each team, but I just enjoy just sports.
Gotcha. This is another ad hoc question, and don't tell me anything that's going to get you or me in trouble. Question is, which was your favorite Super Bowl party?
Wow.
Don't say nothing that's going to get you or me in trouble.
Hey, I'll tell you.
Kids.
I'll tell you what it is. It was the first one I went to when I was with the Cowboys. Magic
Dallas Cowboys.
had a party on Peachtree at the old Hard Rock Cafe on Peachtree in Atlanta. It was in Atlanta, and that's when I realized how big Michael Jordan was. You got to understand, it was 300 top athletes were there. I remember the group Crisscross was there, and I remember I mean, you name it, they were there. But when Michael Jordan walked in, it's like everyone stopped. I remember I went up to Emmett Smith. I said, Emmett, man, the Buffalo Bills are kind of laughing at Jerry Jones. And he's like, forget Jerry Jones. Me and Mike came here. Me and Mike was at the game. Me and Mike came in here. And he was all excited. I'm like, Mike, what are you talking about? He goes, no, me and Jordan. And I turn around and Michael Jordan's with his wife and he's walking. He has a hat, kind of cool. And like the whole dance floor, like partying. And he walked and everyone was like, there goes Michael Jordan. And I was like, wow, these athletes are just in awe of Michael Jordan. That's when I realized, okay, Michael's the man. Now,
this is at the peak of his popularity in the 90s during the Cowboys Super Bowl run, right?
So, and I remember about that party the next day. I remember at breakfast, they had a big article about people outside trying. Like Halle Berry couldn't get in. They had a list of people who couldn't get in that party, and then they're like, "You're at that party?" I said, "Yeah, I was at that party." So that's probably one of the memorable ones. And then another one, I think Maxim used to have a Super Bowl party, and one of my high school classmates, he now does movies, but at the time he was in the music industry, so he'll get me tickets. We always would connect at the Super Bowl, and I just remember just sitting back, just reminiscing, but also seeing the groups that were performing at the party. And it was just pretty cool to catch up with him then. So really, it's just a time to really just connect with people.
Now, as you talk, I'm just dumbfounded how you talk about some of, A-list or S-list celebrities just so casually, just like Michael Jordan is like, he just walked by you, people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, Mike.
Emmett Smith, you know what I mean? Halle Berry couldn't even get into the party because you were there.
Mike, when we were in '99 in Atlanta, he didn't realize I left the Rams to go to Tennessee. And I remember at the party, he's like, "Yeah, man, I hope y'all beat the Titans." I said, "I hope not. I'm not there anymore. I'm with the Titans now." And he's like, "Oh, okay. I thought you were with the Rams." And so he didn't remember I left to go to the Titans. So it was pretty cool.
Got you. So now being in that kind of job sounds like it has a lot of perks. Hopefully our young men watching this, they've learned something about the business side of what it takes to succeed in that space. But some of that's fun aspects, some of the perks of, you work as hard as you do, you get to play as hard as you do. It's those are the rules. So getting to our next topic, and we're starting to wrap up a little bit, but I wanted to talk a little bit about what you have going on today in your current role. We talked about your 30-year bid in the league and where you really made your name, but tell us a little bit about your current gig, what you do, and why you're so passionate about this.
I'm very passionate because once you meet our athletes, and once you really talk and really, they inspire you. They really inspire you, and you're kind of like a voice for the voiceless. But I like the Special Olympics movement because it impacts the people that really need it. And just like athletes, they train and they compete, and it's pretty amazing because we have a thing that's called unified sports, where you pair athletes with disabilities with athletes without disabilities. And when that happens, Brother Cole, respect level goes up and bullying goes down. And I remember in Miami at the Super Bowl, we had a unified flag football game, and the media is coming up to me saying, "Hey, I thought you said there's people with disabilities playing." I said they are, and they couldn't tell because they're competing. Once they get on the field or on the basketball court, they're competing.
Right.
And so now, being using my leadership skills and having a great staff that works with and dedicated, we're trying to move the needle to help. Right now with COVID, it's been challenging. We have attrition with people, not really working out anymore as much because obvious
Yeah.
challenge. So we have our challenges in front of us to raise money and also train coaches and just have more people participate. But I'm happy to see that the brothers really making a mark in Loudoun County and right here in our backyard. I mean, and I know Kappa Leaguers are going to do the same and
That's
to
right.
really
They will.
really make their mark with Special Olympics because it's going to be. I'm telling you, I'm telling you, you're going to get more out of it than they will.
Roger that. We really do appreciate that perspective. That's beautiful. Throughout the year, check out our Kappa League TV YouTube channel. There's going to be several opportunities where our local Kappa Leaguers right here in Loudoun County, like Mr. Wyllie said, are going to be partnering with the Special Olympics program. So you got to see it for yourself. Come stay tuned in to Kappa League TV to see some of those pictures and media for yourself and the real impact of this mission that he's on and why he's so passionate about this journey right here. So, like I said, we're starting to wrap up a little bit, winding down. So, another tough question I wanted to throw your way. So, you've been around the block, you've been through the league, and now in Special Olympics. You've seen a lot, from miracle stories. People that were quote unquote zeros going to hero, and then people that were talented, maybe not making the best choices or not getting the most out of their ability. So, that times are changing. You see it, when you go into your workplace or when you look at TV, etc. What's your message for youth today, specifically Black youth? And what's your challenge to this generation going forward based on your view of the chessboard right now?
I would say this generation can really create change.
Mm,
I think from what they've seen the past 3-4 years, you guys can really get involved with politics. You can get involved with voting. You guys can get involved with what's going on in your community. And you guys can really create change when you're going to school, getting involved with student government, getting involved with just networking with your classmates because you never know the person sitting next to you in the classroom, what's going to happen. They can start a business and they're going to need your help. They're going to need this. I mean, this whole world is the older I get, the smaller the world gets. So my challenge is to always be a resource for someone, try to be inspiration for someone. You never know what someone else is going through. And so always, I'm not using the cliche, but always do the right thing. You're never wrong when you're doing what's right. So I just ask this generation to do the right thing.
Gotcha. It really does boil down to us, the millennial generation, the Gen Z. I guess some Kappa leaguers might be in generation Alpha, if I'm not mistaken. But the choices that we as a collective make are going to dictate, how fast or how slow this world keeps turning. So yeah, that's really powerful. And just the ease of access to like getting into the stock market or the ease of access to like our politicians and influencing change. We saw the George Floyd situation play out last year. I think it's really powerful and it's really cool just getting to see the younger generation use their voice. Back when I was a kid, Facebook was just starting to come up. You didn't have social media in your day, so there was only so many like limited channels that you could use to express your voice, especially like at scale. But that's really cool how this generation can kind of like pile on and kind of like hashtag or drive some kind of trend towards whatever that they want done. So, and with that comes a degree of responsibility to make sure that you're championing the right things and to make sure that people are taking your voices all seriously too. So you want to make sure that we emphasize that as well. All right, so we're getting to the end here. So, Tony Wyllie, I really do appreciate you coming on. I've been privileged to know you. I think we've known each other for, I gotta do some math now, maybe 15 years or something like that. Even though you might have been watching me from afar, I was watching you from afar. So you were always busy, always hopping on and off the jets. I know how you were rolling back when you were doing your jobs, doing what you do for Kappa, taking time out for Kappa League TV and our Titan Talk series. You're always handling business, but every day you're finding time to be a father and be a husband. So serving in an executive capacity for so long, how do you find time to balance it all? And what advice do you give to young men on how to both be successful in the business room, but also to take care of things back home?
I think you have to, first of all, you have to marry a strong wife. You have to have a good partner. And my wife
Mm,
is the rock of the family. But you have to really, I mean, one thing she stresses is having dinner at the table, old school, sit around the table, eating dinner and asking how's your day. But there's some things that the family knows, hey, we're going to do together. And I'm going to order pizza on Friday nights, or I want to be at all the sporting events, and mom handles academics. But it's just basically just being around, even if you have to be physically or mentally, just be around and know that you're there for them.
right. No, that's a huge. I don't have kids myself, and it's been a while since I was living in my parents' household. But that's one thing that we didn't do was sit around the dinner table on a regular basis. To my knowledge, a lot of families, just because of everything's so fast paced, one or both parents are always at work. Kids got stuff going on. It's like food is kind of like grab and go, or they're just getting food from outside. They're just ordering stuff in. But you really hit the nail on the head. You really resonated something with me, bringing that tradition back of making sure. You said that you do this every day or almost every day where you have family dinner.
We try to, yeah.
Right.
Lots of crazy, but at least my wife and kids, we try to. Yep.
That's something that
It's been a family tradition now.
that's something that I think in society, even here in America and Western culture, that's something that like throughout the 50s through well all throughout time through like maybe until like maybe the 80s or 90s that was sacred, but now not so much now. But I really do believe that a family that eats together and stays healthy and active and just really tight through the good times and the bad. So that's really cool how you take time, even though you got a busy travel schedule. I'm sure you're always on call or in the office the majority of the time, that you still find time intentfully to for your family. That's really cool. And let this be a message to you, young man, that no matter how successful that you become, to always make sure that you're making time for your friends, your family, your loved ones, and make sure that you're bringing balance into your life, because those are the people that you're really doing it for at the end of the day. All right, that was a really good Titan talk. We really do appreciate you, Mr. Wyllie, coming through and blessing our platform with your presence. Let me ask you this: who's winning the Super Bowl this year?
I got to go with the Tennessee Titans, even though King Henry's hurt, they got AP. So I'm going. I got my son knows. My son knows when we play Madden, I always play with one of the teams that I work with. So I usually play with the Titans. But yeah, so I'm going with the Titans.
Got you. Hey, this is going on YouTube. I'm gonna send a video of this to Jerry Jones now. See. Nah, but it's unfortunate that King Henry went down. We'll see what the Titans can do with Tannehill and Julio and AP and them.
Cool.
All right. Well, this concludes today's episode of Titan Talk on Capital League TV. We really do appreciate everyone for tuning in. We appreciate all of our guests who are joining us, watching the session recorded on our YouTube channel. Tony Wyllie, we really do appreciate the time that you took out to spend with us. It really does mean a lot. Hopefully those in the audience learned something from this session. For our next episode, just stay tuned to Capital League TV. Stay tuned to our Instagram channel at DLAC Capital League to find out more about what we're doing here in our Capital League program in Loudoun County. Thank you so much, Mr. Wyllie. Anything else?
Good. Just do it, guys. There's no excuse. Just do it.
Just do it.
Just
Are
do
you
it.
also a spokesman for Nike?
I know, like, Nike, just do
You ought to be.
it.
All right.